Welcome to Sports Bettors at BetRepublic's Daily Lines. Sonny Palermo with me, Jarvis Signs. Today we're taking a look at the Monday Night Football game between the Chicago Bears and Minnesota Vikings. Current line, we've got the total over-under at 41.5, while we've got Minnesota at a 7.5 to 8-point road favorite, and expect that number to go up probably by game time.
Yeah, typical Monday night lines, usually going to go up on the side of the favorite here. This game was starting to lose a little bit of its sheen as Week 16 was setting up with Tampa Bay going to New Orleans, 14.5-point line. There was very few people expecting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to pull off an overtime upset win over the Saints yesterday. So now the eye on the prize for Minnesota is home field advantage and ideally getting to a conference championship game that would now be played in their dome instead of the Saints' dome. So as soon as that has been announced, you've seen more of the money starting to pile on. And the only thing is, though, you got a bad Chicago team. Minnesota still has to come outside into the elements, into Soldier Field. It's a big rivalry, and they've got to win a game on the road. I think that the Bears have a good chance of covering the spread, and the more points going on, the better I think the side looks. I don't think it's going to be easy for Minnesota to go outside and just get it all amped up for this performance again.
Well, the problems for the Chicago side are twofold, offense and defense. The defense, of course, lost Urlacher early in the season, haven't played as well as people expect them to. And the offense, of course, as everyone knows, Jake Cutler is not the savior that many people thought that he was going to take them over the hump and get them to the next step. Matter of fact, they took a huge step backwards.
Yeah, Cutler could rewrite history books tonight. He's got 4 more interceptions to go before tying Brett Favre for the all-time record for most interceptions in a season. Favre threw 29 in 2005 with the Packers. Cutler's sitting at 25, and wouldn't that just be sweet justice for him to throw 4 picks tonight and tie Favre for the record tonight?
Well, looking at the game and how it's going to be played out, as we were talking earlier, it looks like Chicago, you'd expect to see them run a little bit more as Cutler has been so bad lately, but the numbers don't really back it up. Chicago only running the ball 22, 23 times a game. Every team in the NFL except one averages more rushes per game. So you think they'd go to the run a little bit more to keep Cutler from beating them all by himself, but the running game hasn't been there for them either.
And they're going to have to try Forte tonight. He has been their bread and butter. He started every game for them so far this season, but he's not averaging the kind of yards per carry they need from him. One thing about Forte, though, is in his past 3 straight games, his yards per carry numbers have improved just a little bit each game. He's finding something. They're going up against the number 4 ranked rush defense tonight, so it's not going to be any easier. But if Cutler and the Bears think that they can just abandon the passing game and or the run game and go all to the passing game, even though Minnesota's 26th in the league with interceptions, that's not going to work either. They're going to have to try and run a balance, and they're going to have to maybe hope that Minnesota maybe sits a few players down, maybe does a bit more of a rotation, because Minnesota is not exactly a specialist in cold weather conditions.
And Minnesota hasn't looked that good over the last couple of weeks. We've seen them exposed a bit here. We've seen the defense exposed a few different ways. We've also seen Favre return to his diva ways. Totally not unexpected in my book. I thought it was a bad signing when they brought him on, and people can point and say, yeah, but look at the season we've had, and I'll point right back and say, yeah, you had the easiest schedule in the league. I mean, you get Detroit twice. Look at your schedule. You were ranked 31st. Only one team had an easier schedule than you.
They had games against St. Louis, games against Cleveland.
Exactly.
It was the easiest schedule out there. And you look at Favre's numbers. His Favre's number, 24 touchdowns, 3 interceptions through the first part of the season. In his last 3 games, he's only thrown 3 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. One of the big problems, lack of a run game. What's happened with Adrian Peterson? I think ever since AP hurt his ankle against the Steelers, he hasn't been quite as good. He hasn't rushed for 100-plus yards a game in over 5 tries, and he's going out and getting really bad numbers. They're not even handing him the ball. It's one thing when you're trailing, but he's getting 35 yards on 12 carries last week, 19 yards on 13 carries against Arizona. That's not the Adrian Peterson, and it was the run threat that Minnesota had. It was setting up the play action, which was giving Brett Favre all that extra time and space downfield, and he's not getting that right now, and we're all of a sudden seeing the pieces collapse.
Yeah, the competition's been a little better lately. I'll tell you, I can't wait. I hope that the playoffs work out so that we get to see Minnesota Green Bay one more time. Because I'd have to say, while we've seen Green Bay start off hot and go down, Minnesota come down to earth, we've seen Green Bay each week progressively getting better. Defense took a backseat in that Pittsburgh game. Roethlisberger had the game of his life. It just turned into one of those run-and-gun games, aerial assaults. But I think they're much improved. I'd love to see that third matchup this year. I hope we get to see it. I'll tell you what, though, for placement tonight, I am taking the under 41.5. I don't think Minnesota's incentive is to go out there and blow these guys out. I think they'll be resting players later in the game, which leads to more runs, less time on the clock, less scoring. And I think on the Chicago side, they can't score even if they want to. I'm praying they don't let Cutler try and beat these guys, that they depend on the run, as you said, a little bit more. They stick to the run game. I've looked at the scores over the last couple of weeks also, and the type of play, the game plan that these coaches have been calling. All of it combines for me to say play on under 41.5.
I like the under as well, Sonny, and I've got to play on the dog Bears. I got them at, you can get them at 8 right now, 8.5. You're seeing 9 points out there. The more you wait towards game time, the better line you're going to get on the Bears. We already know there's 77, 78% public betting on the favorite. You know Favre's going to catch more attention as the public weigh in on their bets for the day. I like getting the dog money. You look at Minnesota playing outdoors in cold conditions. You would have to go back to 1999 to find the last time this team has won a game straight up out in the cold. They're 0-11 in that span since '99, playing outside in the last week of November or any of December games. That's a long stretch. I was kind of surprised as I kept searching back. They have covered the spread 5 times of those 11 games, but let's remember, Minnesota was getting a lot of points in some of those games. They had a couple of years there where they weren't much of a threat to win games. Right now, they're laying more than a touchdown, getting close to where 2 scores, 8 points, 9 points. I like the home team here.
I like the under in this game, so we've got a suggested play there on the side, and I'm definitely, in my pocket, I will have money on the under in tonight's game. That's it. Be sure to join us over at BetRepublic.com, the Daily Line. Every day we go over that day's card: basketball, hockey, football, bowl games, boxing, Pacquiao's a cheater, everything over at BetRepublic.com. We'll see you there.
Enjoy the game.